Alright, what's up guys? Above average here. Uh, this is not a Kashtira deck profile. This is my Volcanic deck profile. This is a deck I've been working on for a few weeks now. I really like the cards, and I think they're actually competitively viable, especially because of Volcanic Emperor and Trooper, as well as the really broken spell cards that they have. So now that we got the Sinful Spoils cards out, this deck has a bunch of level ones that it can summon from the deck and boost the consistency of the deck. So I kind of want to give you like a brief deck profile, just to show you what I'm working with. Like, this is probably the best build I came up with. I've tested the Horus cards, I've tested the Runic cards, the Adventurer cards, and I've been playing them on DB around high 900 rating. So uh, I'm trying to see which version is the best, and so far this is what I came down to. So I play 3 Hita, the Fire Charmer. So sorry, I have a little cough. The best card in the deck is Trooper, right? So like, the hardest part I realized with the deck is that if you go first and you have no access to Trooper or Fire Ejection to put a token on your opponent's board. So if you don't have that, it's kind of like you don't really end on a lot of cards, and your combo is a little Mickey Mouse. Like, you end on like SP or maybe IP into SP and like an Emperor, which is not horrible, but to make your deck like competitively viable, you need a little more than that. So going second, I realized it's insane. Like, especially if you have Trooper or Fire Ejection, it's really good, especially Trooper. But going second is not really the issue because you have a Blaze Accelerator, but going first, it can be a little rough if you don't open up either this or this. Uh, so, uh, yeah, so this card basically increases consistency to see Trooper, and the fact that like the restriction that you can't use anything but fire effects is totally fine. Like, I realized that if you have the Diabell Star package, you just start off with that, right? So it doesn't matter. If you have Fenrir, you just start some Fenrir, search, right? And that's fine. Your extra deck cards, you don't really need to use them. Really, you don't really need to use the effects. Maybe like SP if you're trying to go second, but like if you're trying to go second, you don't really need to start off with this. And if you do, it's fine. Like, you can still like search Trooper or search any other card and then just start playing the game. So although this card can be a -1, I think it's pretty important just because you need to see Trooper, especially going first, um, no matter the matchup. Quickly, before I continue the deck profile, I don't play Scattershot. So what I realized is that, sure, the Scattershot interruption can be really good with the trap, but it's like 3 more cards that you cannot afford to see. Like, you don't want to draw any of them really, and like the board wipe, sometimes, yeah, sure, it can get you there, but I don't think the trade off is worth it, right? Like, you're gonna see the card a good amount of the time, especially because you're playing it at 3. Um, and you don't really want to see that card, especially like if you don't have any of your Blaze Accelerators. It makes bad hands really bad, and it makes decent hands worse. So that's why I don't play Scattershot. I've tested it heavily. It's not a bad card. If it was a level 1, it'd be much better. But or if it had the effect to, like, the fact that it needs to be sent off a Blaze Accelerator is like really like pushing it, and that's why I decided to cut it. But yeah, 3 Trooper. This is the best card in your deck. When we get Bonfire, this is gonna be, obviously much better than it is now. 3 Rocket. So this, if you don't see Trooper, you kind of want to see Rocket. But there's a neat little combo. Like, if you open Fenrir and Rocket, you could like special Fenrir, add Rise Heart, and then special summon the Rise Heart, normal summon Rocket. Sure, you're locked from the extra deck, but you get to go into your rank 4 to search another Pyro monster and extend, right? Or maybe send one from deck to grave. So yeah, so Rocket's really good. The fact that it could also add from grave is actually like the effect that comes up a lot, especially in the mid to late game. Adding back your like Blaze Accelerator to like then activate another Volcanic Blaze Accelerator, I feel like that comes up so often. But yeah, going first, searching even the trap one, and then pitching it could be really good. 3 Shell, obviously, like, this card is what it seems like the worst card in Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's actually insane in this deck. It gives you absolutely free discards, free monsters to special, free monsters to normal, etc. The fact that it's a level 1, it's really good. Uh, 2 rimfire, so you definitely don't need 3 rimfire. Playing 3 rimfire, like opening it can be really bad. Like it's not really a starter. Um, it's more of a card that you want to send through your combo, or like get into it through your other cards, right? Because your sinful spoils can get into it, your volcanic blaze accelerator can get into it, your fire ejection can get into it. So you don't really want to open it necessarily, but you kind of need to because you send one, and then you want to trigger off both effects, especially going second. And then one emperor, you could play two. Sometimes hard drawing it is decent, but the fact that it just brings itself back, like you don't really need to play two. You could break. So two witch, and obviously this is the reason why to play the deck. In my opinion, this card is absolutely insane. The fact that it's an inherent summon, you win so many games just off of that. Two witch, I just wanted to bump up the consistency a little bit. Again, it's one of those cards that like kind of gets you into another level one in your deck, and sometimes sending a card could be really beneficial for the deck. Also, the fact that you get to draw a card off wanted and like the graveyard effect of your Snake Eye Sinful Spoils card is really good. It's actually like insane. The fact that you could target a Snake Eye also and add any level one fire is really really good. Then you play one Ash and one Oak. Um, Ash is not really mandatory, but he's decent if you only open Sinful Spoil and no other like Volcanic card and stuff. So he's good in that sense. But Oak is the one that I want to emphasize on because this card is really 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 good. Damn it, it's really good. Um, yeah, the fact that you could bring back your banished rimfires, so you can trigger the first rimfire effect, and then once you bring it back, send it again to the graveyard, and then get the other effect of rimfires is insane. But I like playing Ash because through Ash you contribute another face-up card to then get Oak, and then Oak can bring something else back, and you can continue link climbing into whatever you need to link climb into, and then also get the added effects of rimfire. So that's why Oak is really really good. Three Fenrir. Besides the card being really broken in general in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, uh, because the deck obviously lacks consistency and like if you don't see certain cards, you're not really doing as much. This could add to your end board, right? It could be a disruption, or it's another really card. It's a card that's really good going second. Plus, it gets access to a fire monster, so maybe you could pitch that with Hita, and then search your Emperor or Rocket. That could come up. So that's neat. But yeah, you basically use it to go into either rank fours with Rocket or rank sevens to go into Metal Flare, and then like you get to end on Metal Flare Emperor, and that's pretty good, right? Because then your opponent burns for everything that they do, and once they get to a certain threshold, you can kind of just kill them. Yeah, and then this card just to enable the FTK as well as just going second. Like once you get a spellcaster on the board, sending any pyro and like level 4 lower pyro and a spellcaster just to go into this, activating the effect. Your opponent doesn't even see it coming because it's like an inherent summon. So this card it can contribute to brick hands. I'm not gonna lie, but it's actually very good, especially if you get nibbed or going second. But yeah, it also contributes to the FTK going first, which I made a new combo. Well, I haven't seen it online yet, but it involves any of the Diabell Star cards and Trooper. It could be the two card FTK. I know Trooper and Fire Ejection is the FTK, but I guess this is another way to do it, so that's pretty cool. And you could also use Hita. It doesn't matter if you use Hita through the combo. So let's say if you don't have Trooper, let's say you have two. Let's say you have Hita and Shell, and then Wanted. That's the FTK. So that's neat. And then the only hand trap I play is Mourner. So Mourner is pretty good right now. It's really good against Rescue Ace. It's a slap on the wrist against everything else, really. But the fact that it burns is the part that's really good. And sometimes you get into this point where your opponent doesn't have like enough life, right, to continue comboing because then they're going to get burned. So that could come up. And what's really important is just dealing a little bit of damage to your opponent. It puts them in the threshold of your emission or your current eye to kill them. So that actually comes up a good amount of time. And then um, it could be an easy side out card. So 3 Wanted, obviously this card is phenomenal, especially in this deck. 3 Fire Ejection. Sucks that it's a hard once per turn, but it's a really good card. The fact that it puts a token on your opponent's board helps a lot with comboing. Um, 3 Blaze Accelerator, and 1 Blaze Accelerator, 3 Volcanic Blaze Accelerator, and 1 Blaze Accelerator, you definitely, I think this is for sure the correct ratio. Like, I've tested with 2 of these, but like that's not really going to come up, and your Rimfire kind of cheats these out. So, um, so that's perfect, like perfect ratios. And this is a card that you always want to see going second, and you can potentially side one out going first. And then 1 original Sinful Spoils. This is really good. The fact that you can put these back too, that's awesome. Then 1 Emissions and 1 Inferno. If you have the FTK, you always go for Emission. But if you see that they're not in like the deadly threshold, you always go Inferno. Because this card, it will give you a soft interrupt, do a bit of damage, but the really important effect is that it puts 2 of your banished volcanic cards or in the grave back into the deck, into the bottom of the deck, which is really important, right? So you keep a shell in your grave, and then you banish your 2 volcanic shells, and then during their end phase, you put back 2 volcanic shells, and then you're able to, use all 3, use 2 the following turn. So that's the game plan with these 2 cards. And then Kurenai, this card is crazy. Like the fact that you deal 31 off Sending Emperor is really good. This card I wasn't playing for a while, but because again it can contribute to weird hands, but it's actually really good. The fact that Rimfire could also activate this card from the deck, by banishing one of these is really cool. You get a draw during your turn and during your opponent's turn. So that's cool. And then of course, if you send it to the graveyard, your Sinful Spoils or whatever, you get an extra send from the deck to grave. And then my favorite card in the deck is Ring of Destruction. So obviously this card is just a solid trap card. Going first, people forgot about this card, but you can deal a good amount of damage to your opponent. And it's really like surprising they don't see it coming. It's okay if you get burned, but yeah, and then like it's not that bad going second too, because you could set it and then use it on their turn. So that's why I made it, but I do side it out going second most of the time. 3 Uka. So this card is not only consistency, it contributes to your win condition, to one of your win conditions, and it's really good against the best decks, right? It's good against Infernoble, it's good against any Sinful Spoils deck pretty much, because then you summon this, and then you target their fire monster that they summon off of the Sinful Spoils spell, and then you summon Trooper. So that's the game plan with this card. You could also, and off chances, it actually does come up sometimes, but you could also summon Fenrir, right? Because Fenrir is 24/24, and then you have like with 1 card, you have 2 level 7s on the board. They're burning for 300 for every summon. You have a Fenrir effect to banish, and then if they don't deal with your cards, you have a rank 7. So that's like, it's pretty cool. This card, so it kind of goes hand in hand with Magnamut, right? If the matchup calls for it, you put in Magnamut as well, which then can search this, right, or Blaster. But this card is really good going second. Most of the time, just your Volcanic Blaze Accelerator can turn this on, right? Dumping shell, adding a shell, normal summoning a shell, linking 1, adding another shell, special summoning a shell. You get to go into Linkuriboh, Anima, Link Clement to SP, and then you have 3 different attributes, 3 different types in your graveyard, and you could turn this on, off of 1 card. So that's kind of crazy, and it's kind of like a bomb card that they don't see coming, and it's actually very solid going second, and very easy to summon in this deck, especially with all the level 1s and link 1s that you play. 3 Ash, just if the matchup calls for it, you put it in. Devic Carnate, kind of like utility, right? Because you can search it off your Sinful Spoils. Blaster, very good going second. Angel of Blue Tears, phenomenal going second. A lot of people don't know about this card, but you get to burn damage, you negate an effect, and then on the following turn, when you deal burn damage, which you most likely will, you could set any trap from your hand or deck. So that's pretty good. And if you set a trap from your hand, you could activate it that turn. So yeah, that's pretty good. 3 Gravediggers. It's pretty good in the format, as well as it's decent disruption. And then extra deck, whoever plays this deck kind of knows that you have to play Anima, just so you can send off to summon the Inari Fire, the Linkuriboh, double SP. I mean, the extra deck is pretty flexible, I'm not gonna lie. IP, Hita, you kind of make. Dark, you can make because you always go into Linkuriboh or your Diabellstar cards, etc. I make this a good amount of time, really good against Rescue Ace. They have a pretty hard time outing this card. especially if you boost it up to 45. They kind of need to play the Underworld Goddess to out it. If they don't have that, it's pretty rough. Access code, you could easily climb into this card using your Blaze Accelerators and stuff. So I play this, the Robin, pretty good card to end on. Basic Disruption, some hands end on it. This to go into Zeus. This to search a Pyro, Metal Flare, and the Typhon.